So, what are the things that inspire me most in my life? Music has a monumental impact on my inspiration for anything I do in life. My mom was a huge influencer in that growing up. She had us listening to old school rock, folk, different types of hip hop, anything. Really, just really expanded that repertoire of music for us. And I'm not somebody who sits around every day, scanning Spotify or Apple Music or SoundCloud, listening for new sounds or artists, but I'm somebody who looks for that feeling. And music is not just the way you think, but just it is entirely feeling. I mean, for me, it helps me relax, it helps me get motivated, it helps me to think of new ideas through just noise. And that's incredible to me. I mean, take example, you have a basic film shot of zooming in on an intro scene of a character, and you have the Black Pistol Fire playing in the background.
Back from the bottom, straight to the top. Roll that sucker till the wheels break on.
And now, take for example, that same exact shot, and you have a band like Ben Howard introing in that. And now just from that example right there, you can see, I mean, there was no backstory whatsoever, there's no context, there's no dialogue, it's just noise. And from that, and just that noise in general, you already have an assumption of who this character is, what they do, what the feeling of a story. And for me, music is that exactly. It gives you a story without even having to say anything. And so for my inspiration in advertising or creative work, it is that feeling that gives me a story to tell without even having to say anything, to set that scene.
The end of the line.
Film is undeniably my greatest inspiration for anything I do. I mean, I like reading, I have my favorite authors, I have my favorite books, but film is something that just has always resonated with me since I was a little kid. It is far more than just an escape. It's a way to change the way you perceive things, change the way you view things creatively. I mean, you not only get lost in this other world, but for me, it's all of a sudden, now I can see the way other people think through their creative minds. And I can use that as well, but now I have the inspiration to perceive and tell a story through my own way, through that voice. I mean, you look at people like Quentin Tarantino.
And you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
They don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese?
Oh man, they got the metric system. They wouldn't know what the fuck a quarter pounder is.
And what do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
Wes Anderson.
If this to be the end, farewell, cried the wounded piper boy.
Christopher Nolan.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. Go, 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 go. 7 years per hour here. Let's make it count.
They all have their own voice. And I mean, you say you've never seen a film before, or you're not an avid film watcher, and you watch these and you see they all have very different stories. Now, if you're somebody who does watch film, and you compare these movies together, then you could easily distinguish, oh, that's a Wes Anderson film versus a Christopher Nolan film. And that's amazing that these people found this voice. And that's something I'm always searching for in a creative way. It's that voice and that way you tell a story is what makes success in whatever you do in the creative world. Or not even the creative world, in everything you do. I mean, what is the difference between, a good advertisement versus a bad advertisement? What is, something that wins an Oscar nomination versus a flop in the box office. It's how you tell that story in a way that's relatable to people so that they understand it, but also in a way that's new and innovative, that is captivating and exciting for them to watch. Look at the Netflix documentary series Chef's Table. I mean, they took a very simple concept of taking successful chefs and watching the way they cook. And for many people, you could say, "Oh, I just throw the chicken nuggets in, in the oven, and that's cooking." That's not cooking. That's cooking. But in this documentary series, they took a way to make this art. And I mean, for so many people, me and my friends, after watching just a couple episodes, it changed the way we perceive food. And film in that way is incredible, that after just 30 minutes of watching something, it changes the way you do things. It changes the way you want to cook, the way you want to perceive things, the way you want to produce your creative work. And that's incredible. Lastly, something that really inspires me is not really a traditional sense like a book or a quote or a film. It's more of an action, actually, and that's movement in general. I would consider myself a anxious person. I've got dozens and dozens of thoughts running through my head at all times, and find the only way to match that, the motion up here, is to actually move my body physically in ways that allow me to clear my head for a headspace that's conducive to being inspired. And I think that's half the battle that people don't really understand, is that finding things that inspire you, but also letting yourself relax and be free in a way so you can be inspired by things. If you're stressed and walking around, you've got your head down looking at your shoes as you're walking, you're not going to look up and see, the dozens of things that, just at the blink of an eye could give you a new idea. And I think for me, especially since I was a little kid, with surfing on, the beaches of New Hampshire, lacing up your boots and going in the water, putting on your flat bottom shoes and getting on your longboard and going down the road, or even lacing up your sneakers and going for a jog for a couple miles down the road, that is allowing you to physically exert yourself in a way for you to pick your head up and see what's around you. You have no control of everything around you. Say you're surfing in, a big ocean with rough waves. The only thing you can control is the way you think and what you do to match that. And it's the same way for anything creative. The way people want an idea or thinking of something new. If you can't control not being inspired, then go move. Move the way you think. Move the way, you're going about your thought process. And for me, it's that physical exertion that allows me to be free and think of new ideas. And I know it's not traditional, there are, specific things with specific movies, favorite photographers, favorite directors, or favorite authors that inspire me, but those three of music and film and movement itself that allows me to be inspired by things are kind of what define me.